I'm NBC 15 Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals. It's Friday, June 5th, 2020, and we are watching now Tropical Storm Cristobal, a tropical storm again having moved into the Gulf of Mexico on a forecast track that's going to put it onshore across likely southeastern Louisiana by late Sunday afternoon as a medium or maybe a strong tropical storm. Computer projections are pretty consistent that once it gets close to land or makes landfall, it may curve a bit toward the northwest and become a rainmaker. Now we'll talk about the wind, we'll talk about the rain, we'll talk about the threats. My focus area is Mobile, Pensacola, and surrounding counties, and this location is under a tropical storm warning. Coastal Mississippi, southern Mobile and Baldwin counties, and the coastline from Escambia to Santa Rosa to Okaloosa counties. And the tropical storm warning mainly extends westward. That's where the main focus is going to be across southeastern Louisiana. That warning focuses on wind speed. That's the criteria for a tropical storm. Winds over 39 miles an hour. So the warning means within 36 hours, you can see winds over 39. Now, they could be as high as 73, but they always start low and they work their way up. So that is likely in those areas I showed you. Not everywhere in those areas, but especially near the coast. It's the time to prepare your home, and that means take away anything that the wind could blow around. Simple as that. And then, of course, be prepared for the possibility that it comes in a little bit stronger. Talk about rain north of Interstate 10 across Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, an inch or two of rain in the next 3 days. Now, where you see the red to the orange, that's more like 4 to 6 inches of rain likely across coastal Mississippi. Not every place is going to get that much rain, but the possibility is there. And that's why we have flood watches, which are mostly for Sunday. The darker green is just a slow, long-term flood watch. The brighter green is a flash flood watch, but either way, rising water can take lives. Make sure if you're in a spot where your escape route gets cut off by water, that you are watching extremely carefully how much rain is falling from the sky. Also going into Sunday, we'll have to watch for that small threat of tornadoes. Now, there's a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms in that dark green area. That's a level 1 out of 5. And those would be thunderstorms capable of spitting up a water spout or making landfall as a tornado. So that's going to be on Sunday. Here's a closer view of a computer projection showing that Saturday morning, the north central Gulf Coast has an east wind, partly cloudy skies. Most of the day looks pretty routine. The heavy rain stays offshore. There's that east wind Saturday evening. Now, Saturday night we'll begin to get some rain, and then Sunday morning, that's 7 a.m. Sunday morning, you see bands of thunderstorms feeding into the tropical storm. Now, that's one of those feeder bands that I talk about frequently, and within those feeder bands, you can get a lot of rain. Also, notice the structure of the feeder bands going to 5 o'clock in the evening as this model projects a landfall across southeastern Louisiana. They're made of thunderstorms, and these are the ones we watch carefully for the possibility of a waterspout or a tornado. A weaker tropical storm is less likely to make them, but it's not impossible. So that's Sunday evening. Going into overnight, into Monday morning, it goes inland. The center goes inland through Louisiana. The central Gulf Coast picks up more of a south wind, and that plays a role in storm surge. But look at the time there, 1:30 going into Monday. I'll tell you why that's important to know. Storm surge, it's simply wind that pushes water uphill out of the beach, across the beach, and depending on the wind speed and the wind direction, the more perpendicular the wind is to the beach and the stronger the wind is, the higher the surge can be. Now, this is a tropical storm, not a hurricane, so I don't anticipate extreme surge, but I'll show you what you can be looking at going into Sunday. Here are your wind projections. Saturday evening, 25-mile-an-hour wind right at the coast, right at the beaches, north of Interstate 10 going into Sunday morning. Maximum wind 15-20 miles an hour inland, but that'll gust 25. Along the beaches, you'll have a steady wind closer to 30 at sunrise on Sunday, and that will gust 35 to 40 miles an hour. So from an east wind early in the day to more of a southeast wind by mid-afternoon, and 1 o'clock in the afternoon is significant on Sunday. That's when the winds begin to shift, but it's also when you're at high tide. So the way things are looking right now with the arrival of Tropical Storm Cristobal into southeastern Louisiana, it will arrive when the waves are at their lowest point, at low tide. And you know we just had a full moon, and that means there's a big difference between high and low tide. 7 p.m. Sunday evening, steady winds, 35, 37, close to 40 miles an hour along the coast. 20-25 miles an hour inland, but they will gust. Now, the 1 a.m. on Monday morning, as I mentioned, that is low tide. So storm surge for most of the NBC 15 area, I don't anticipating it being more than 2 to 3 feet. Now, once you get to coastal Mississippi into southeastern Louisiana, that could be more like 3 to 4 to 5 feet, simply because of that strong south wind hitting the coast perpendicularly, and then also the water that funnels from Louisiana into the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So for the NBC 15 area, this is the way our threats stack up. Wind is our main concern, and it's tropical storm wind, not hurricane wind. That's followed by storm surge because it can be really tricky. It depends on the shape of the bay, the shape of the coastline. It depends on how the water, the land slopes underneath it. So a lot of times you don't know what it's going to be until it happens. Flooding from rain right now is a low to medium concern, and tornadoes are a low concern. So as of late afternoon, a northward motion at 13 miles an hour, way different from the last 2 days when it was just meandering. That motion clearly puts it right in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, but the faster motion is a good thing for preventing it from becoming a much more powerful storm. And there's your forecast cone. Notice how much more skinny it is compared to a few days ago. That's simply because when you look into the future, the bigger part of the cone is now shifted way to the north. The whole cone is moving with the storm, and the distance between these lines increasing tells you the storm is moving faster and faster. So that's what we want with Cristobal. On the beaches this weekend, if you're on the Gulf Coast, Gulf Shores this afternoon, rip currents kill people. Don't go in the water. The lifeguards are going to tell you that. The red flags tell you that. Be safe, have a plan, stay updated. I'm NBC 15 Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals.